Good afternoon, everyone. My pleasure to be here. Okay. Yeah. So in the screen you can see the slide over there, right? So let's start the section by imagining. Imagine that you're now standing at the fork in the road, and you see that on the left-hand side of you we have a road. Let's call this Web3 road. That is the winding track with a lot of sharp curves, with unpredictable surface and risk of losing control. But here's the thing: in racing, well, the curves are where the champions take over. Right? The danger is also the opportunity to break ahead. And on the right-hand side, we have the road that we're familiar with, right? That is the very stable, very predictable road, but the competition there is fierce. So no matter how hard you push, it's very hard to win there, right? And this is actually the reality of the Vietnam's institution in Web3. Well, so the uncertainties that we see in Web3 road there, that's represent for uncertainty in regulatory policies, market volatilities, trust issues. Right? On the right-hand side, we see that is the safer but slower. Right? And yeah, so in Vietnam, and it's like racing. It's like racing actually, right? The real breakthroughs only happen when we navigate the curves with skill and courage. Right? So I'm Dr. Nguyen from RMIT University, and I'm very pleased to be here to share with you some of my academic perspective on the Vietnam institution in Web3. Yeah. So that is so we have the sense, right? So let's see about the current of Vietnam institution. Well, in the toward Web3 and digital access phase, I would say that right now it can sum up in a phrase, right? Pay to ride, but hold the rails tight. Well, in Vietnam, we see that Vietnam institution, we already step on the innovation train, but with both hands firmly on safety measures. Why I say that? So when we're looking at the adoption of Vietnam's institution, well, firstly, the payment remain conservative, right? So why the cross-border remittance, right, pilot program happening right now? Well, the adoption of blockchain in payment in large scale is still off the table, right? There mainly because of the regulatory cautions. Right? The other thing is we have here that is about the experiment in channel into sandbox and pilots, and this means that most of the blockchain project right now they are still in the testing stage in the controlled environment, like learning without unmanageable risk. And also it is also about infrastructure being laid for compliant use cases. So a lot of blockchain project right now in Vietnam, that when we develop the blockchain project, we always keep in mind the KYC, ALM, right? When we develop the blockchain project. And we also see one of the facts that is early enterprise, early adopters in Vietnam right now, they mainly bank and payment system, not outside them, right? Not outside them. So it can be said that in Vietnam, Vietnam institutions, they're not rejecting Web3, but they adopting it with cautions, right? Balancing learning and control. And if we want to understand it more about the current stance of Vietnamese institution about Web3 and digital access, I would suggest we to also looking at how they approach to the technology when looking at the deep tech and the shallow tech. Right? And we will see there is the big divide gap there actually. Most of Vietnam's institution right now, they leans on shallow tech. Right? Shallow tech is like the one who can be fast to market, low technical barrier. Well, they are valuable. I have to be honest, they are valuable, but they rarely change the market in the way it can make the change that can change the market, change the industry, or even create the new ones. Deep tech is on the other side, and it is the game changer. We can think some example in real world from world right now. For example, SpaceX, for example, right? When we think about SpaceX not aim to make a better rocket. They create the new launching system, the reusable launching system, cut cost by 60%, unlocking the new entire market. Or we think about OpenAI, for example, the way they push the boundaries of AI in now become as a tool that's reshaping how the world run the business or education and creativity. And well, those kind of success, they doesn't come from playing it safe, right? It is the long-term investment, right? It is come from the visionaries who's seen the result beyond quarterly and take a long-term investment in uncertainty R&D cycles, and then prepare the capabilities that other competitors cannot replicate overnight. And for Vietnam institution to lead the Web3 industry, we also need that long-term, that vision, that visionary long-term. We need the leaders in the institutions to have that kind of vision, to invest in the deep tech today, and knowing that the biggest payoff will not come tomorrow. But when it comes, it will be the one that can be the game changer. That can change the game, not only for the business, but also for the whole industry as well. Right? So that is what we are still working on, and things that we are hoping to see more in the future in the vision of the Vietnam's Web3. And ambitious is not isn't enough, right? In Vietnam, we also the road to Web3 for Vietnam institution, they also shaped by some of the shaped or even sometimes blocked by some key barriers regarding to regulation, risk, and infrastructure. Firstly, regulatory clarity. Right? Sometimes we are very clear on what we are allowed to do in Vietnam. For example, blockchain solution for record keeping, for supply chain, right? But in some other areas, we are not quite sure. The regulation is missing there, or sometimes that is ambiguous. And this makes institutions become hesitate. Banks or large enterprise, they would not want to invest into a technology that may be banned tomorrow. The second area that I want to mention is about payment perimeters and stablecoin policy. Blockchain-based system in Vietnam right now is still heavily restricted. Right? Some question like if we haven't answered some kind of question like who's gonna issue the stablecoin, who's gonna use that, who's gonna accept that, for example, then the institution will remain sidelined. The other one is the pilot regimes, the formation. Right? Vietnam right now, we see that the Vietnam's government right now, they're starting to explore the sandbox framework and some of the pilot programs. Right? But the scale, in my opinion, there's still small, and there is still be slowly in launching that. Right? And this makes it hard for us to keep up with the pace of the Web3 development in global scale. In comparison with the world, because we know that Web3 business, they move really fast. Yeah. And beside these regulatory constraints, there are some other very practical, very real operational challenges that that come up to my mind when I think about the barriers for institutions in Vietnam when they go to the role of Web3. That is about in here in the slide you can see the AML, the counterfeit financing tourism obligation for virtual asset service providers. They are not fully aligned yet with the global standards. Well, this make it a little bit hard for Vietnam business when to play as the home ground and as the away field. Right? Operational and custody risk is also another thing, right? Right. Market-ready infrastructure and pilot, right? Some technology idea, they seems like they are kind of ready, but they still stuck in at the piloting step. And the other one is the public sector rails are emerging, right? We see that the government right now, Vietnam's government, they become very more open right now. They're starting working for sandboxes. They're developing the strategy to make Vietnam become an interesting, the emerged place about Web3 in the global map. But yet it is emerging. But the integration will take time. It's not easy. It's not tomorrow. Right? So if these are the barriers, so the big question is what institution need to do to participate Web3 safely? Well, I would, here's some of my the thing that come up to my mind, right? Firstly, promulgate the crypto assets with the pilot with the clear. Right? We need to make it clear for every role, from issuer, broker, exchange, custodian. And this is also means that we need to make it consistent for the client access aggregation, right? Reporting standard, auditing processes, and surveillance and disclosure requirement. That is one of the first key thing, right? The second one is about aligning AML, CFT obligation with the global standard, right? Make the Vietnam business in Web3 become more prepared, more well prepared. Right? No differences when they play in the home field and in the away field. Right? The third one is about the clarifying accounting and tax treatment for tokenized instrument. How we value them, how we're recording the impairment, how we manage the value dispute. These are the key questions that need to be answered. Without that, the CFO will remain not taking any action. Yeah. The next one is there is the need for defining stable coin and on-off ramp policy but that need to be consistent with the State Bank of Vietnam's parameters. And last but not least, that is about this. We need to certify institutional standard, right? Institutional infrastructure, custody, key management, audit, right? The connectivity between the media bank connectivity, for example, right? And the pilot should be designed to stress test the settlement stage. Right? Let's move to some of the early mover in Vietnam. Yeah, in Vietnam. So when talking about the early mover in the Web3 adoption, about blockchain adoption, banking industry is one of the first sectors that come up to my mind. Right? Earlier, we have the case. One of the outstanding example is the case of HSBC and Vietcombank, where they work together in trade finance. Right? When they use the Contour network built on Contour platform built on R3 blockchain network, right? In order to improve the letter of credit, digitize their letter of credit process. So for those who are familiar with that, so letter of credit is backbone of international trade, right? But traditionally, it is kind of slow, heavy rely on paper-based and prone to error. But with the move to blockchain, right, transaction which usually take days to process is now takes hours. And also with the efficient, with significant improvement in the efficient in transparency. Well, and the other case that we have also we have in Vietnam's banking sectors, right? For example, like HD Bank, who joins the Contour for network participation, or TP Bank, right? With the collaboration with SBI RMIT from Japan in order to launch the cross-border remittance process via the Ripple blockchain network, right? And actually in Vietnam a lot of people, when they think about blockchain adoption, they think about finance, but actually there is more. There's more. There is from ventures capitals. They are from gaming industry as well. So for example, we have the case of Dragon Capital. Last few weeks ago, they launched the proposal about tokenized EFT. ETFs. ETFs. So, the movement, the digitalize of ETFs, it is not live yet. It's still a proposal, but it is significant. Right? Tokenized ETFs means that it means ownership fractional. Right? It is lowering the barrier, the entry barrier, and also 24/7 trading activities. For Vietnam capital market, that may be a major leap for the accessibility and also the liquidity as well. And we also have a case of Sky Mavis, right? The one behind the NC Infinity. I think that most of us here know that game in NC Infinity, and we see that in the screen while I'm waiting here for the section today. It is popular, but the thing is, it's not just a game company. This one, the Sky Mavis, is create the blockchain ecosystem that support the asset digitalizations, that support the gamer-driven economies, and the interoperability between the games. So this happened. NC Infinity has happened for a few years ago already, but it's still a reminder for us that the innovation might come from outside of traditional finance. Right? So with this case, we see that maybe in the future we will see that some of the innovation that will not just come from financial sectors, but also come from others with the ventures who rethink about the product, reimagine the infrastructure, and dare to take the lead. Right. And but these examples just come up with us for the same common themes here. From the example that I mentioned is that from banking to game, to be well prepared to make it the real product, make it a pre-product, right? From piloting to real production, they need the government policy. The government policy, the policy is not about replacing the innovation, but it is about providing a safe and scalable foundation. And to do that, there are 6 big steps that come up to my mind when I think about this one topic. Firstly, putting legal around under digital assets, right? So whenever the institution, they feel that there is a regulation clearly recognize what is their obligation, what is their rights, they will be more confident to practice. Secondly, keep payment conservative while pilots mature. Think about this like a risk containment processes. Third one, use control sandbox, right? Use control sandbox to learn before scaling up. This sandbox should be designed as the supervised innovation process, right? Not for limiting, but just in order to make sure can integrate with the existing system smoothly. Fourthly, stand out the pilot market structure, right? Be very clearly on who can issue, who can trade, who custody, right? Who will respond, who will hold the keys, who will respond if there is the breach, right? Where the assets will be stored, for example. This needs to be clearer, more well developed. Fifthly, build national rails for identity record, right? Is that compliant and scale, and very importantly, signal that enterprise-grade decentralized ledger technology is welcome. And this should be proof-driven, not hype-driven, because institutions, they need to see the working example, not just promise. So this slide Well, I just want to sum up what we have discussed, where we have go through from the current stance of Vietnam situation, right? Some example right now in the banking and banking industry, gaming industry, about the policy, right? Here and well, this slide again, this is summary what we just have discussed previously, right? So to unlock the safe and scalable institutional engagement, well, this would actually take us to go through this 8 steps right here, right? From turn legal recognition into operational, right? Promulgate the crypto asset pilot market with clear guardrails, keep payment conservative, but DeFi stablecoin is very important. Stablecoin on off ramp land, that's very important, right? Aligning the standard with the global norms, stand up institutional grade custody auditing standard, build market pipes that with the banking connectivity and clearing infrastructure, leverage national scale identity recall rails, and last but not least, provide utility and bank perimeter. Right? So when I'm beginning, right, I mentioned about the road of Web3. Right? So what we just discussed here is like the guardrails, the road size that help the Vietnam's institution to better prepare, to better navigate where's the turns. Without them, the Web3 road will be very difficult. It's going to be uneven. But with them, this can become a highway that Vietnam institutional might be more confidently to accelerate, right? The question right now for Vietnamese institution is not whether we should take that road or not. We already on it. The question is now how far, how fast, and how boldly we will drive on this road. That is all for my sharing. Thank you, everyone.